obviously the mayor says, you know, he wants to bring about a lot of changes to the Columbus Police Department. In a nutshell, your reaction to the fact where he says this will happen, the community, the citizens review board will come about by the end of the year. Your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that is I'd sure like to be part of that process. The purpose of the meeting of the president yesterday was to lobby for the law enforcement professionals to be at the table. When you're talking about police reform, citizen review boards, things that affect policing and law enforcement, to me, I think it's just common sense to have the law enforcement professional at the table, at least for input. When you're trying to have a solution to a problem and you don't have the person it's impacting, to have that person not at the table, you're asking for failure. So we don't think that's productive. And the purpose of the meeting was to meet with the mayor, to ask to be at that table, to ask to be in those negotiations, to ask to be in those conversations. And it's my understanding that the mayor cannot commit to that. And here we are.
He says, as I'm sure you've seen, and he said it to me a little while ago, uh, talking about listening, saying the time for listening is past. Now is the time for change.
It's the first time I'm hearing that statement. I'll take your word for that. That's correct.
They say they are prepared to listen, but we've heard that for far too long. Time to listen.
Well, with all due respect, I'd say that's an ignorant comment. There's never a time to stop listening, and there's never a time to stop learning. The FOP has listened. The FOP has worked on behalf of the citizens. Prime example was the body cameras. That was a big issue for our membership. However, the FOP rolled up their sleeves, listened to the concerns of the citizens, and we actually agreed to one of the first ever body camera agreements. And it's a good one. And that answered the citizens' concerns of trust, transparency. We did not have to get that in a third party. We got that by working, listening and learning and sitting down, and we got that relatively fast. As far as him that expanding that comment to the time for learning and listening is over, I take it with regard to these citizen review boards. That's a falsehood because the FOP is still not clear on what the proposal is. I don't know if the media even knows what that proposal is, and I beg to differ that the public doesn't even know what that proposal is. Therefore, the reason why the FOP is going to continue to say that we're ready to listen and learn. You can't listen and learn if you don't know what the proposal is, and to work on behalf of the citizens of Columbus to do the right thing to keep them safe.
So right now, obviously, with regard to the Citizens Review Board, we've all heard, I know you've heard, we've heard, there will be one, but details are not something that you guys have been presented. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it something, generally speaking, that you would support under certain conditions?
We're always willing to talk about civilian review boards. Civilian review boards is nothing new. I have information not with me, and I quote off the top of my head. There's over 200 in this country. Minneapolis has one. I forget the figures, but it's almost $1 million, several $100,000 that's been in place. Is that working there? I'm not for sure it is. Chicago, I believe it's $13 million of their general budget. They have there. Is that working there? I'm not so sure that people would agree. But I can tell you what, Columbus is prepared. The FOP is prepared to do it the Columbus way. And I don't understand the concept, in all honesty, of how you can propose reform without sitting down at the table to talk about it. That's not going to be productive. And then when you have the entity that it's going to definitely affect begging you to have us at these discussions, and then you flip the narrative that somehow we're the obstructionists, I don't understand that.
So a possible citizens review board, without knowing the details, is something?
Absolutely, we talk about. Absolutely. Absolutely. It all depends what the mechanisms are, what it looks like. Absolutely. 200 other police departments have them. There's definitely something we can sit down and talk about, but I don't know how productive it is as a mayor, as a leader of a city, not to share those and actually welcome input from another entity that's willing to talk to you about that. I don't know why in a leadership role that you'd ever shut that down, even if you were going to disagree.
From the FOP standpoint, what would you like to see on citizens?
I'll be straightforward. I think we have a lot of levels of citizen review already, and they're controlled by management. I want to be very clear that the FOP doesn't set the policies that I'm not even sure if the mayor knows what we do. But I can tell you there's a citizens review by every member that's hired by the Columbus Division of Police. So if there's a problem with our performance, civilians set those standards. They hire them. The FOP doesn't. Civilians fire every person that's hired if it needs to be. The FOP doesn't do that. I tell you what I would like to see, if you don't mind though. I would like to see this shift from the mayor to the finger pointing to be over. And I'd like to see him in city council shift to some things that we know right now that are happening, such as we have a 14-year-old lying in a hospital bed, clinging to her life, has been shot in the head, and another person charged with aggravated murder. I think they should be focusing on the well-being of the community, the well-being of our youth in this community. I think they should be focusing on entities calling for policemen to be taking out of schools instead of staying in and fostering a positive attitude with young youth, knowing that the police are their friends and helping to instill good values in them. What I'd like the mayor to address under his direction, which he sets the policies, are homicides. This is right off the Columbus Division of Police Facebook page as of yesterday. Homicides are up 40% over June. This month isn't over. There's a 50% increase over a 3-year average in homicide rates. That's what he really needs to roll up his sleeves and set some policy to kind of look at that. I think that's the important thing. Felonious assaults involving a firearm. That means someone shooting another with a firearm. Those are up 244% just this June alone. Felonious assaults involving a firearm being shot into an occupied structure. That means your home, your business. Those are up 81% this June. That's where I'd like to see the mayor take some leadership and have some policies, maybe look at reform there and what he can do better to protect the citizens of Columbus. Because I tell you what, the FOP has their back and we're here ready for that tag to work together. But if he's not willing to work together and we're going to do things about banner about us being obstructionists without any proof, then that's not productive for the citizens. That's not what we want. We want to help the citizens. We're sworn to protect them, and that's our primary mission.
Do you, from the FOP, feel betrayed by him, as that was mentioned in the statement last time?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was a press release put out from the president, Keith Farrell's direction. And when you go in to humbly ask to be part of the solution, and then the mayor's comments clearly lead a reasonable person to believe that somehow we're obstructionists, I think the average human being would find that offensive and betrayed.
He says this is not about a rift between the FOP and himself. He says this is between the FOP and the community.
I don't buy that. I think the mayor doesn't have the direction. I don't think he knows where he wants to go. If you notice, there's a lot of talk, but I don't think the citizens know what direction he's headed. I don't think he knows what direction he's headed. I don't think you know what direction he's headed. And we're all reasonable people, and I sure don't know what direction he's headed. So if he's like to lay out those policies clearly, we'd be more than willing to help him with that. But no, it isn't about a riff. I think he's making it about a riff to deflect. But just like the figures I just gave you, we know that the citizens have concerns, and we should be addressing them. Why are we spinning our wheels to deflect things to the FOP as being obstructionist? He clearly said he's made mistakes. Well, I think he needs to take a look at those and learn from those, and let's just move on and roll up our sleeves, and let's do the hard work the Columbus way on behalf of the citizens.
Will there be another meeting?
I do not know. The FOP is always willing to learn and listen, but that only goes as far as good as the person on the other end if they're willing to reciprocate that.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but I'll just ask the question. Do you hope there's another meeting?
I would hope that the mayor finds the direction somewhere from someone that would do best to preserve the safety for the citizens that we are sworn to protect, to do best for the citizens that he's been elected to serve. And that's all I want. I think that's not an unreasonable expectation. So if that requires sitting down and talking again, absolutely. The FOP is never going to be the one to say the time for listening and learning is over, like the mayor said. You won't hear that come out of our mouth.
One more time, just your reaction to the events of the past 24 or so hours. With regard to the meeting, statements from your end, as that ever put out.
It's time for the mayor's office to embrace our help rather than spin it as some type of rejection, when for the past 3 weeks we've been asking to be part of the solution. So if you really want that, then work with us, let us at the table, and let's do what's best for the citizens of Columbus, and let's get away from this obstructionist falsehood, because it's uncalled for and it's not needed, and that's not helping anyone.
And I know we hit on this. Why is it important again to have you, law enforcement officers, at the table as possible reforms that we discussed.
I think any reasonable person would expect if you're going to talk about an issue and the issue is his camera, your cameraman's equipment doesn't work. Are you going to go over here to the local hotel and ask someone there that works there what's his thoughts and opinions on how to fix the camera? No, you're probably going to go to other professionals within the media world and ask them their input on, hey, I'm having this issue. What do you think about the result that we can make my equipment work more effectively? And unless you do that, you're probably setting yourself up for failure.
Anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Look at this as a safety issue too.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about safety. We're willing to work and entertain anything, but there's two things that we will never compromise. And that's first and foremost the public safety and then officer safety. It's really this simple. As policemen, we're sworn to protect and serve. There's nothing more disheartening, there's nothing more frustrating when you can't deliver that product that we all sworn to do. And when you have obstructionary measures breaking down that barrier, then it's difficult. That's why you'll never hear from the FOP if we're not ready to listen and learn and talk about these issues. So let's move past that. You're never going to have, there's not going to be a statement you're fine. We're not willing to ever listen and learn and talk about issues on behalf of the public that we're sworn to protect.